Well, as we head back to the office, we're very much looking forward to catching up with everyone in person again. But video has been a very powerful means of communication, both in terms of its reach and in terms of the less formal context it's given to conversations, seeing people in their homes and hearing more about people's day-to-day lives. We wanted to capture some of that in a new series of interviews which we're doing with people from the real estate industry, and we're calling it In the Head Of. First of all, we're in the head of Steve Quartermain, who is interviewed by Town Legal's Lucy Morton.
Hello and welcome to our Town Legal interview series. We're interviewing people in the planning and development world, and this week we're going to be in the head of Steve Quartermain. As those of you in the planning world will know, Steve was until recently the government's chief planner. Hi Steve.
Hi Lucy.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to ask you some questions, and I thought I'd give a bit of background to our listeners first. So I found out on Google that you studied geography at Durham University and took your postgraduate qualification and became an RTPI member. And then you worked in various different development management roles, including Epping Forest to start with and Dartford. And you moved then to Yorkshire to be head of development control at the council there and became head of planning there. Then you moved on to quite a few more roles, but you eventually became the government's chief planner in 2008 in what's now MHCLG, and a role you stayed in for 12 years and have only just stepped down from there. And you're now a consultant, I know, working in a few organisations, including our very own Town Legal. So an amazing career, no doubt about that. I'd like to ask you some questions, some of them more career focused and some are more personal, if that's okay.
No problem, fire away.
My first question for you, what has been your proudest achievement to date in your career?
Well, as a planner, I suppose you get, hopefully you get surrounded by outcomes and things that you can look around and be proud of. But I suppose if I can say what was my proudest moment, it would be becoming chief planner. I think that it was a good thing. I enjoyed getting the job, and it was always good when people said, "What do you do?" and you say, "I'm chief planner in England." It was a good job title, and I enjoyed doing the job. But getting the CBE in that role was probably the proudest moment. I got that in 2015, and I think it was quite fitting that it was actually handed to me by Prince Charles, given his interest in planning and design.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, that's brilliant. It must have been quite a moment. Something
Good
to aim for.
day.
Oh wow. Thank you. And my next question: what career lesson would you pass back to your younger self? And we actually have a photo of your younger self, which I will share on the screen. Let me get this up.
Well, there I am, playing croquet, I think, on the college lawn, possibly after exams. Now, what would I say to my younger self? Well, I suppose if I look back, I think I've worked with some great colleagues and I've worked with some great managers, but I've also worked with some people that haven't been so great. And whilst I like to think there's a planner in everyone, just screaming to get out, and not everybody realizes that. And I think if I were able to give some advice to my younger self, it might be about having a bit more patience in that respect. A lesson would be to recognize that you don't need to win every argument. The planning is quite a long game, and that things don't necessarily need to be resolved in a single stroke. Patience is a virtue.
Very wise advice, all of that, I think. Thank you.
I might still need that advice, to be honest.
Thank you. The next question is optional. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but have you ever had an "I told you so" moment, and who was that person and what did you tell them?
Oh, I think we've all had those moments, haven't we? And I think that as chief planner, I can probably think of a number of "I told you so" moments, which I could tell you about. But I don't think I can. I think I'm going to need you and your listeners to perhaps think about the 12 years I was chief planner, and perhaps they could probably work out themselves which ones were the "I told you so" moments.
All right, I won't ask any more, but thank you. And my next question is, how did you choose your career path, or how did it choose you, as sometimes happens?
I think it probably changed me a bit. As you mentioned in your intro, I did geography at Durham, and as part of that course, there was a module, a part of the course was urban and regional planning. It was given by Roy Gazzard, and he just talked about the role of human geography, the role of planning. I was introduced to this book, which was Peter Hall's Urban and Regional Planning. It was a great book. Professionally, you know, it's a book that I sort of point people towards. It is accessible. It explains what it's all about and what its roots were. And I just thought, that's something I want to do more of. And so once I'd got my geography degree, I started looking for trainee planning posts. And those days you could get a job with a geography degree and then do a postgraduate qualification, which I did at Epping Forest. And I took my planning qualification at what was Chelmer Institute. It's now Anglia Ruskin.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, it's interesting to hear so many people don't know what they want to do, or kind of don't know how to get there. So yeah, it's good to hear how you started out. My next question, what's your favorite place? And you did send in a photo or two, which we've got, so I can show them. But yeah, what's your favorite place?
Well, when as you described my career, in '86, I moved to Yorkshire to take up a post of Head of Development Control at Hambledon District Council. So I ended up staying at Hambledon for a while. I was ended up being the director of their frontline services. And that's a picture of the North Yorkshire moors. If you spend 25 years in Yorkshire, you know, I may not have been born there, but it does, leave an imprint in you. But within Yorkshire, there's an even more favourite place, which I think I sent you a photograph of. I like this place because I used to go there as a child on holidays. I have an aunt that lived there, so I still have an aunt that lives there, and that is Filey Bay. And Filey Bay, you go to Filey Bay, walk on the brig, and I've just learned it's even become more perfect than I ever imagined, because they've just started making whiskey there, and you can buy Filey Bay whiskey. I mean, what's not to like?
Excellent, thank you. It does look beautiful. Thanks for the pictures as well. My next question, my last question, what's your favorite book or record, and why? We actually have a photo of it as well, so I'll show that.
Yeah, I know this is one that often people often choose this one, and quite apart from the Peter Hall book professionally, this is a book that I've read several times, and it's not often you read a book more than once, but it fluctuates between prose and poetry. There's probably a fair too many Lurianos or whatever. The characters all have the same name. And it takes you some while to keep flicking back to the family tree at the beginning to work out which one they're talking about. But it's a great book. It's a fantastic a masterpiece, and I just love it. It's my favourite book.
Classic there, thank you. High praise, a masterpiece. Thank you for sharing that with us, and yeah, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me today.
It's been my pleasure, and I hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really interesting to hear more about you and about your career. And yeah, have a good rest of the week. Thank you.